there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis and another Titan build update. So you'll notice there's been a few developments in between. The big things that you've probably been drawn to are the big platform on top, the head, we have a head now, and the big chest piece. But there are numerous other bits and pieces that I'll try and cover as much detail as I can really, and what I can remember. But at any stage of this build, if there's anything you think I kind of like not mentioned on the screen or anything like that, just drop it in the comments and I'll happily answer any questions or get back to you on any of that. I love reading comments and answering questions, so just throw them down there if there's anything you want to know. In the meantime then, let's start from the top down, okay? So first of all, we've got a kind of sizable platform here ready for whatever the hell I'm going to put on top. So, you know, some kind of a cathedral or fortress type build. So to give you an idea of size, this box here for baby bottles, all baby stuff with me, isn't it, at the moment? That's kind of roughly going to be the kind of size, I think, of the kind of cathedral or whatever I put on. Obviously it's going to be like, you know, we're going to have decoration and buttresses or whatever, you know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. The board itself is 9mm laminated ply, so that's a real trade-off between weight and strength. Very, very strong, especially for a build like this, and not too heavy because it's not too thick. So that was, you know, I think perfect. Cut out a 5-inch square here just to accommodate the head because that sits a bit too high for that to kind of just lay flat. But I'm quite happy with that because that'll be a nice feature by the time I'm done. Some sort of arch or battle balcony over the top of that will do nicely. So let's go ahead and take this off. So that just comes off really easy, it just sits there. You'll notice on the underside got some battens. All right, the longer batten at the bottom there slots behind the superstructure here. The two shorter battens, all right, they actually go either side of this central kind of area here in these little hollows. Okay, I'm going to attempt to show you with one hand. So that kind of slots over the back like that and then down and sits there, and there's maybe a 1/4 inch of play or something in the actual you know, in the movement, but you don't want much more than that. Obviously it's not the thing slopping around, but do give yourself a bit of room if you're doing anything like that. Don't measure it too tightly because the thing won't sit very nicely and it'll be too difficult to get off. So that's that. Right, lots of other things going on, so let's talk about the head next. The head, as you probably noticed, is like a Terminator replica thing, as in Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. Some of you are really going to hate that, and that's fine. I get it. I know people don't like seeing other kind of stuff and, you know, derivatives and things like that, but I actually really like the way that's turned out. I bought it for the previous Titan build and I've modified it quite heavily, and I've not finished yet either. So I really like, it's got quite a menacing kind of demeanor. I like it. I think it is appropriate for me and for my vision. So that is actually made out of a malleable plastic. That it's firm enough to kind of hold its shape, but it's quite soft. And I actually sawed through that and took off the jaw section. And that allowed me to just do what I needed to do easier. And that's got a really weird angle on it because, believe it or not, that skull was not symmetrical by any means. So it actually helped me to remove that and make it kind of straighter and fit it better to the Titan. You can't see this very well, but I'm going to do my best. Probably should have done more videos really and updated as we went along, but never mind. So just above where my finger is, my fingernail, you can see running along and underneath the head, there is a piece of wood. So it's just this kind of battening that I've used for a lot of the rest of the build, and that's poking straight out from this central box that we talked about. That's what kind of slots on top of the central kind of support in here. That is secured on there with 3 L brackets similar to this. All right, so it's not going anywhere. That wood's nicely secured on there. And the skull, which remember doesn't have a jaw, now sits straight on top of that. You can hopefully just about see that in there. And then we've got various bits and pieces that I built up. These are from a World War I tank kit. I had loads of these panels left over because I bought a few of those on the cheap because I wanted all the tracks for an Imperial Guard conversion. So I kind of a nice way of using those up, makes like a nice kind of gorget type thing, or whatever that piece of armor would be called, I'm not sure. Here we've got various other components. Ruminate, which is a kind of toy aimed at girls. I don't know if they still produce it. It's a little bit hard to get hold of in the UK. Bit easier over in the States. If you're interested in getting hold of some, look on eBay and you can get quite a lot of it for quite cheap. It's like a construction toy. This stuff here is also from a construction toy, which is quite a lot harder to get hold of. If you're in the UK and you're a similar generation to me, it was similar, but not the same as something called Manta Force, which had this great toy line, incidentally, which I won't go on about in this video. But if you remember Manta Force, it was similar to that, but it was more construction based. So you could like link it together and make your own kind of mechs and robots and things. But it had this kind of similar little men. There's kind of baby milk kind of tops here. We've got Lego and all sorts, and right underneath we've got this here. This is the other one that I've got, and this is a kind of like sound horn, if you will, from a sound bar that I kind of broke up that didn't work anymore. So that's kind of underneath that batten, kind of supporting underneath the batten and kind of just hot glued in place, cut down obviously appropriately. Always save you weird and wacky bits. You just never know when they'll come in handy, guys. If we work behind, you can see here we've got a plastic slinky toy, like this sort of thing. Okay, and I just thought that gave a nice suggestion for a sort of access tunnel for the crew into the head, and that's kind of been doused with super glue, so it's not going to kind of go anywhere. And that's kind of about it for the head, I think. You can see as well around the edges here that I built up the structure a little bit. So we've got extra battening here. We've got some diagonal supports going up through here. They're not so much for strength as they are for just extra structure. So when it comes to kind of putting the more superficial elements on this Titan and making it look good, there is some, you know, substructure there to kind of attach it to. That's kind of what that's about, really. All right, because the thing was strong enough anyway. Working down then, so this here is a section from a toy that I've kind of cut out with a Dremel and a hacksaw, and that is from a Star Wars Rebel transport toy. So you know the transports in Star Wars, that, you know, that when they evacuated from the Battle of Hoth, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And that is kind of like a retro toy. It's slightly before my time. It was kind of mine in the sense I kind of had it and played with it and everything when I was a kid, but it was passed down from my uncle. But it was in quite a bad way when I found it not long ago, actually, when I was kind of clearing out my parents' attic. And I found it up there, and it was in a bad way. And I wouldn't have just chopped up a retro toy for no reason, especially if it had been worth anything. I would have sold it, but it wouldn't have been worth my time putting on eBay even, you know. So I just kind of cut a section out of that. This is what the underside of the toy kind of looks like. If you're anything close to my generation, you'll probably recognize this toy, actually. Lots of wonderful greebling on the underside there, which I'm going to try and figure out if I can use that in any way. But anyway, so that's what that is. Chopped through. It's secured with a couple of screws in the side there. All right, and I did pre-drill before I screwed in, because although this isn't super brittle, there is like actually quite thick ribbing underneath. So it's not really brittle. It is still liable to splitting. I think if you were just to kind of screw a screw in, you'd be asking for it, really. And this is angled with the screws in place. You can kind of tilt it a little bit so for a bit of downward rake, and I think that actually looks a bit better than it being straight up and down. So that's what that is all about. So I'm going to remove the torso section now, which has got some heft to it. So bear with me. Sorry, terrible one-handed filming here, guys. I'm very sorry about that. Right. So the torso will actually sit up and support its own weight as well, and clears the guns, which is nice. So nothing's going to kind of pop off weirdly there. So let's go back to the legs. Some additions then. So we've got these plastic 90-degree pipe angles here, which are actually from a child's football goal that goes in the garden. Really cheap thing from the pound shop. So I bought actually several kits because they were super cheap, and you know, these wonderful little components. So they're just hot glued in place because they're not going to be, you're not going to really be even too visible, those things, but they're there and they make me happy. So these things here I'm pretty pleased with. These are from a kitchen tap, so they go into the main plumbing underneath the tap. I needed to replace my kitchen tap. I didn't just buy a kitchen tap for that purpose. I just saved kind of scraps and bits, and these were something that I put aside. So Yeah, they kind of go down on a bit of a run through the existing pipework there and into these kind of lids that I've kind of cut hollows in the side, as you can see. Very low tech thing up here, look, just taped around very, very tightly with insulation tape. I've widened the hips out a little bit with the addition of these components here, which are from the kind of discarded baby milk bottles that I don't need anymore. You know, the same place the knee joint things came from. I may actually bulk those out even more and maybe put one of those over the top of it. I'm not 100% sure yet. It's a work in progress, guys, which is why I can't really film as I go, because I'm constantly changing my mind and trying things out, which is kind of the nature of scratch building. But anyway, so I think that makes the hips look a bit better in relation to the knees. On the side, you may notice this stuff here. Let's just turn him round. So this stuff was left over from building work that I had done on my house, and this is what they used to kind of put onto the brickwork, if you will, to kind of sort out the corners of the rendering that goes over the top. So I had quite a lot. I've just took some off the skip when they were here and put it to one side because I really liked the kind of patterning and the industrial kind of look and shape to that. We got some more piping, same kind of pipes I used kind of on the legs here, and that's just kind of going down between the two joints, the knee and the hip joint. I think that just adds a little bit of extra width there and a bit more kind of suggestion of mechanism and pistons and whatnot. So that's nice. We've got more ruminate parts as we move down from that same toy line that I was talking about earlier. And here, this is the same component that I used under the chin as well. So if you want to get a better look at that, that's what that one under the chin looks like in its original color as well, and screwed in place. So it's nice and firm. It actually matches the curvature there of the knee joint really nicely. You can see lots of hot glue strands that I've got to tidy up, so forgive me on that, guys. Moving right to the bottom, then we have these little offcuts of batten here, drilled, pre-drilled, countersunk as well, and screwed in place. I try to get them similar on the angle, so I want like a bit of a diagonal on these ones. They're close, but not exactly the same. I'm happy with that. I'm not too much of a perfectionist with this, but that's kind of substructure for like mounting kind of like armoured greaves on here, which I'm probably going to make out of actually hardboard, because I want something kind of nice and strong. They're thin hardboard. So that's probably what I'm going to do there, but that's why those are in place. And I am actually very aware, in case you're wondering, that the feet are starting to look a little bit undersized now, which is fine. I'm not going for the traditional 40k, like a great big kind of, you know, on the I can't say this word, Imperator Titan back in the day, back from Titan Legions, had these enormous kind of big bell bottoms, didn't it, on where, you know, all the troops were housed in and stuff like that. Really love the imagery and everything, but that's not quite what I'm going for with this Titan. So whilst I probably am going to figure out a way to make the feet look a bit more bulky and a bit more mechanical, I'm not going for that massive bell bottom look. So yeah, just, you know, disclaimer now sort of thing. All right, but I am aware of that problem and I'm thinking about it. So yeah, that's where we are. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about, but please let me know if there's anything you think I've missed there that you want to know about. I'm trying to follow it along as best I can. I was making videos on like every tiny little thing, and I kind of thought I was gonna maybe kind of lose you all if I did that. So I'm trying to do the videos in larger chunks now as I go. But maybe let me know in the comments if you would like to see, you know, smaller chunks. Do let me know, because I'm trying to figure this out as I go, what the best way to present this is on YouTube. Just let me know, guys, if you want it done differently, if there's any kind of thoughts and feelings on it. I'm more than happy to try and follow things along in smaller chunks if you want me to. But yeah, that's it. That's where we are. So let's just build this guy back up. So torso goes back on. There we go. Terrible one-handed filming again. Sorry. And let's get the top on there. Lovely. Okay, so there we are. There he is, kind of complete, or as complete as he can be at the moment. Thanks ever so much for watching. Like, share and subscribe. All helps the channel to grow, and I will catch you in another video. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.